it do? It's your boy Next Stop Search City. I would like to welcome you all back to another week of the Food We Watch podcast. As you can see, I am by myself today. Unfortunately, Nita has something to do, but guess what, guys? I was able to find time for you. Why? Why, you ask? Because we don't just have one episode of MasterChef to go over. We have two. Yes, two full episodes of craziness. And let me tell you, I do mean crazy. Now, just a quick recap of what happened last week. We had that team challenge where they were at the stadium, the baseball stadium. We had to feed over 100 kids. It was a wild and crazy event, but unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to Kendall. I believe Kendall was from the South. This week, we have episode 11 and episode 12. We're going to start with episode 11. This week we did have a special guest. We had Chef Andre Rush. If you watch this man is a massive man, and I don't say that in any type of way. I know that sounds a little funny, but he is like just heavily into fitness. He was in the military. Um, he cooks for military people as well as regular people, but he does a lot with that. And he was our special guest judge today. Hawk. He looked like the Black Hawk. It was, I'm not over exaggerating. But this week we found out that there are no more regional alliances. Yes. So as we know, MasterChef is started off with regions. You had the Northeast, you have the West, the Midwest, and the South. Well, that's going to go away now. So where the rules were when someone from your region wins, the whole team is safe. That's gone, meaning that you're gonna have to cook. Ain't nobody safe no more. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But what the topic was, what they had to do today, it was a mystery box, and when they unveiled it, it was military rations, MREs. So the objective was to create 5-star dish using military rations. I believe they were offered 10 different rations. Excuse me. We had lentil stew, all grated potatoes, don't know what that is, hash browns with bacon and peppers, peanuts, applesauce, lemon and lime sports drink, peas and tomatoes, crackers, strawberry jam, and oatmeal cookies. So they had to use at least 3 ingredients to create their gourmet dish. Now, before it all started, Gordon and Chef Rush they did do excuse me, a demonstration on um, using the ingredients that they were given to create that perfect dish. Gordon Ramsay was able to use some of the rations to create a peanut crusted salmon and stewed lentils with a potato cake, and then Chef Rush came from behind and used some of the rations, which was the lemon and lime drink. He used it to create a Vert Blanc. Them two cooking together created this crazy dish that you would not believe came from military rations, but they did it. So they were able to show the home cooks that it's possible with that demonstration. Now, they did have access to the pantry, so they weren't limited to just using 3 rations. They were able to go into the pantry to get their proteins, to get any other ingredients they wanted to use. They just had to make sure that they used those 3 out of 10 ingredients from the MREs. Now, the protein that they would use, though, would be rationed out. So there was a group, the first set of group that were able to choose their proteins first were the winners from last week's challenge. So they had the upper hand this week. Don't ask me all the people, Bryn and whoever else was on her team last week and won. They were able to pick their proteins first. And then the losers, as we could have guessed it, they had to pick second. The winning team, well, I'm sorry. Now, once the competition started off rip, And I started cracking up. Lizzie was afraid. She was like, "Oh, I got to do good this week. I don't have a team to fall behind on." And we know Lizzie. Lizzie is up and down. She does great things if she like concentrates and works through those nerves. But off rip, yo, Lizzie was like, "I ain't really feeling this no regional thing. Like, can we go back to that? I kind of like doing it that way, but hey." We already know, you know what it is. This is Master Chef, so you want to step that game up. Now, one thing they did say that the rations are heavily drenched in sodium. Like it has a lot of sodium because if you are a chef or just for informational purposes, a lot of food like canned goods and things like that, you'll notice is high in sodium because the sodium is what helps the food last longer. So I believe the rations that they normally get in the military can last up to 10 years. So the rations are already high in sodium. So they did have to watch seasoning because in your mind, oh, I gotta add salt, I gotta add pepper. So that means you had to really pay attention during this competition. Taste, because it already had a lot of salt in it. So if you're using certain things that had a lot of salt, you won't have to compensate that. Me personally, knowing that these rations had a lot of salt, I would have probably leaned on a sweeter dish. Something that had just to cut that a lot of that salt flavor out. Probably wouldn't go with anything hot, something more on the sweet, savory dish side than opposed to, something that, it's a little salty, just so you don't have to worry about that salt intake being too high. Now, there were some people that were being a little bit ambitious, just a little bit. We had Wayne, my man Wayne from the Midwest. He got a great protein. He picked the lamb, which is a great protein to use. But he was trying to use 9 out of the 10 rations to create his dish. Off rip in my mind, I'm like, you know what? You're kind of doing too much. It's all the rations are already high in sodium, so you're gonna have to like balance a lot of flavors. Um, I get it, you want to stand out, but me and Nita have said this before, do what you know. Don't I mean it's nothing wrong with elevating, nothing wrong with elevating, but please make sure you know what you're doing, because we've seen time and time again in these challenges when people try to do just a little bit too much, 9 times out of 10 kind of sends them home. We had Nina, she chose her protein was chicken, and she just decided to use some Indian spices to enhance the flavor, which again, a lot of Indian spices are on the spicy side. So if you're going to go spicy, in my opinion, it got to be on the sweet side more than the salty side. If you eat hot sauce and all that, a lot of the hot dishes are on the salty side. So I was a little worried for her, but we know Nina got it. She does her thing. Now going into the competition with 45 minutes, I believe they had 60 minutes, 15 minutes into the competition, Colby still didn't know what he wanted to do. Colby chose the ground pork. Now, in my mind, off rip, ground pork, I'm going to either do some kind of patty or meatballs, because you could do meatballs. You can kind of get some tomatoes, make a little sauce, bada bing, bada boom, you be good to go. That balances out that salt and that save and that sweet taste. I mean that salt taste. So, but again, we'll see what he ended up with. But he was struggling at the beginning. He was doing a lot of things, but not really creating a dish. And he even said, "I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? What are we going to do here?" So hopefully, he was able to put together a good dish at the end. Now, my homie MD from Hawaii, she was very smitten this episode. She saw Chef Rush and she could not contain herself. She was just smiling. She was googly eyed. So at the point where they went to go visit her with Gordon Ramsay and Chef Rush, they went to go see what she was going to make. She chose the ahi tuna, which made sense. They use that a lot in Hawaii. But when Rush and Gordon was over there talking to her, She completely just forgot what she was doing and was not paying attention, and her sauce started to burn. Her sauce was hotter than she was when Chef Rush came over to talk to her. But yeah, she was on one today. She just couldn't resist herself. She has a crush on him. She loves the stuff he do in the community. And again, he literally looks like the Black Hulk. Like he is husky. So that was a little funny, but I think she pulled it together. Then we had Grant. Grant, the last few weeks, aside from last week, he didn't do too well on the grill, but Grant is a strong competitor. This week he had a whole dish and he decided to add gnocchi to his dish, which is a high-end, I believe it's a high-end potato. Chef Ramsay thought, okay, that'd be good, and if you can pull it off because of the rations that he was using, it could have fell apart if not cooked the right way. But we'll check back with Grant, see what he ended up doing along the way. Now, Charles. Charles is one of the people. I believe he's from the Midwest. He's one of the ones at the beginning when we saw them do their audition. He created this dish that was like elevated. And even me and Nita, we both was like, I think if he keeps it up, he would go far. Over the past few competitions, he hasn't really been a standout as I thought he would be. And this competition wasn't really that much different. Charles chose to do a Thai curry halibut. Nice fresh halibut, light. And again, like I said, these rations are high in sodium. Me personally, I would stay away from the heat. I would do something to kind of calm that sodium down. But when Gordon Ramsay came over to check on him, he got a chance to taste his dish, or at least his sauce. He said the sauce was extremely, extremely salty. Rush even said to him, he's like, hey, we told you like 10 times, be careful with what you're adding into the dish because these rations are already salty. And he ain't listen. Also, it was too spicy. He added too many chilies. And again, that salt with that spice, salt enhances. So if you eat something salty and spicy, it's going to be more spicy than when you normally would eat it. That's just my opinion. But Gordon outright said it. The sauce is nasty. I would do something with it. And me personally, I felt like it was like 30 minutes left. I think he had enough time to create a different sauce. But what he did was he just tried to, add some coconut milk, trying to try to like calm down the heat and the saltiness. But in my opinion, Gordon Ramsay said the sauce was nasty. I gotta find a way to create another sauce. He didn't do that. Let's see if that'll hurt him in the end. Now, the homie Bren, who's been coming through, and I believe she is Northeast, my hometown, my home region, Northeast. I believe she's in the Northeast. Strong competitor. She decided to use scallops to make a faux paella. Joe stated that her sauce started to have a metallic taste. So she added saffron. She was trying to go for like a Spanish, I believe, flavor. She added saffron, and one thing about saffron is if you add too much and you overcook it, it'll have like a metal or metallic taste at the end. You have like a nasty end taste. That was the only thing Joe said. Aside from everything else, she was doing good. But again, me personally, that's just me. I still got time left. If I got like at least 30 minutes, I might start that sauce over. Anytime they like it tastes like metal, I don't know how you can take that away because you overused the saffron. So I I would have tried to do something different. What do y'all think? What would you guys do if a judge said that your sauce is nasty or you use too much seasoning here? Are you going to try? And you got 30 minutes left. Are you going to try to recreate the sauce, or are you going to? Do you think you got enough skill to, doctor it up, change it up to where, it's not going to be that bad? Let me know in the chat what you would do. Because I know me personally, I got 30 minutes left. I'm going to have to try to figure this out. Now, they went to Nina. I can't remember what she was making, but they automatically said it was just too acidic. Whatever she put in, she overused. And she said, oh, I just coated the pan with lemon. And I forget what she was making, but even Gordon Ramsay said it. Whatever she was making does not involve lemon or lemon juice. So he doesn't know why she did what she did. But her stuff was just coming out way too acidic, way too bitter, and all off rip. It was just not going to be good for her. Now we got about 5 minutes left in the cooking part of the competition. We go to Wayne. We go back to Wayne. As I stated, Wayne had that lamb chop, but he was trying to use about 9 different rations. And with 5 minutes left, he didn't even have time to let his lamb rest. Still in the oven because it took him forever to get it in the oven. He was way, way behind. So instead of using 9, I believe he ended up using 7 of the rations, but he was running out of time. There's 5 minutes left and your lamb is still in the oven cooking. You have to give your lamb time to rest. Same thing with like a steak. If you're cooking a steak, you don't want to just cook the steak and then eat it. You normally want to let it rest and let it cook itself to get to that perfect temperature. I don't think Wayne had enough time, but we're going to take a look at that. Because guess what? With 30 seconds left, Wayne finally cuts into his lamb chop. And it is Lamb Chops Play Along. Y'all remember back in the day on PBS, Lamb Chops playing a little puppet? Yeah, and she was alive and moving. That was his lamb. His lamb was raw. And I ain't talking, oh, it's just, it's just not, still a little, it's edible. I'm talking, it looked like they didn't even cook it. Purple. It moved. It walked. I was like, wow. This again was what we say over and over. Just do what you know, man. He was doing way too much. Way too much. And Wayne is one of the strong competitors. There have been weeks where he could take over, even during one of the challenges when he wasn't even the head chef. I believe that was last week. He wasn't even the head chef, and he was able to take over and get things running because James couldn't. Very strong competitor, but I think this week he bit off a lot more than he could chew. And I think he realized that when he cut into the lamb, and noticed that the lamb was still it was moving, it was just doing all kinds of stuff. But we gonna see what happened. We gonna see what happened. So at the end of all of this, the judges are going to taste and see what's going on with everybody's dish. So let's go to best dish. Before we go to best dish, you guys let me know in the chat what was your favorite dish this week. I'll let you know what mine is after we go through all of this. But you guys let us know in the chat what was your favorite dish this week. Now, best dishes. First person was Grant. Grant cooked a cracker crusted amberjack and lentil spinach puree with a pan fried gnocchi. Judges believe this was his strongest dish of the competition. Joe stated he couldn't even tell that he used rations in his dish. So good job, Grant, this week. He showed off his skills and his ability. His gnocchi didn't fall apart. I was glad that didn't happen. He put together I have no idea what an amberjack is. This is some type of fish, but I've never heard of it. But he did a great job. The second person with the best dish this week was my man Kobe. Yo, Kobe, for the last few weeks, has been stepping up. At the beginning, it was like he was probably in the middle of the pack because you never really heard his name. It wasn't a good thing. It wasn't a bad thing. But the last few weeks, my man Kobe has been killing it. And I'm digging it. He's one of the ones that I can feel like that can go far, surprise a lot of people, and may end up winning it all. You never know. He got that Southern roots cooking going on. He made the pork meatballs, and again, I would have did the same thing. The pork meatballs, tomato and basil ragu with a herb and peanut salad and a lemon and applesauce vinaigrette. Now, I ain't never heard of an applesauce being a vinaigrette, but he made it work. The judges said he did a great job converting the rations into a delicious dish, and Chef Russ he loved it. So good job for Kobe. Again, Kobe has been stepping up the last few weeks doing his thing. And last but not least, the homie Britton from the Northeast. I'm not shocked. Again, she's one of the strongest competitors in the game. She cooked pan-seared scallops with saffron and lentil paella, potato croquettes, and a romesco sauce. That's a lot, but she did it. The judges said she did a phenomenal job with the scallop. Them scallops did look good, y'all. I ain't gonna hold you. I like me. I'm a seafood connoisseur. I love me a good scallop. Shout out to the homie Reese. He like a good scallop too. And she did real good. She used 6 rations, starting off with 6, which again, we had Wayne. He tried to do 9, ended up with 7. She started with 6. She was consistent with 6. And they said she did a great job while using 6 rations. The only thing they would have changed is that saffron that had that metallic taste at the end. All in all, we had 3 great dishes from 3 great competitors. But guess what? We can only have one winner. And that was Grant. Grant, with his pan-fried gnocchi, his amberjack, came through in the clutch and pulled out a victory. Again, they said this was his best dish of the competition so far. Shout out to the homie Grant. I believe he's from the Midwest, doing his thing, getting that immunity pin, which means next week he cannot be eliminated. But here comes the but. Guess what? There are no more regions. Therefore, anybody could have the worst dish. So let's get into it. First person called down to the platform with the worst dish is Charles. Charles had the Thai curry halibut with the vermicelli noodle salad. Off rip, it didn't look like any much of anything. The judges even said it doesn't look elevated. Gordon was highly upset that he used strawberry jam in the vermicelli noodles. And realistically, Charles even said it. He was like, Gordon asked, he was like, why? Why did you put that in there? And he was like, I had to use 3 rashes. I didn't know what else to do, basically, is what he was saying. I got to use 3. I have to use 3. I'm just trying to qualify. His noodles were undercooked. The fish was dry. And then they was mad because he used rice and noodles. They said he should have just picked one, not had both. Next, we have Nina. Nina had the chicken tikka masala with the lentil dal, pickled onions, and lemon and cilantro salsa. They said it looked like it was something you would find in a mess hall. It was very like lunchroom processed. Nothing great about the look at all. As Gordon Ramsay said before, she had too much acidity in her dish, and then she added strawberry jam, which was a mistake. But all in all, they said the whole dish tasted the same. So there was no variety. Everything you taste just tasted exactly the same. And then we have the third dish, which was Wayne. I don't think we're shocked about that, guys. He cooked raw lamb. The name of his dish was a Moroccan spice lamb with a bean puree, tzatziki, tomato chutney, and a hash brown and bacon cake. He did also like 3 different purees. One of the purees looked like doo-doo, like straight doo-doo. Like doo-doo. I don't know how else I can say it. It looked like doo-doo. They were very disappointed. The lamb again was raw, but the one piece that they could actually taste that wasn't raw was okay. They said he had the makings of a good dish, but they couldn't overlook the fact that the lamb was undercooked. So he had good points. He had good things going on, but it didn't gel correctly, and they even said he was doing too much. Chef Rush told him, just slow down and concentrate. And sometimes you can get in your way. Don't be your own worst enemy. But shockingly, I was highly, highly shocked about this, and I do not agree. The loser of this competition was Nina. Nina, I do not agree with this. 100% do not agree. My opinion, this is no shade, and I get it. The competition wasn't about the protein. It was more so about the flavors and recreating something from the rations. But you couldn't even eat Wayne's dish like that. Like, I get it. She only had one. It would taste the same. She put together a dish and she executed it. Wayne technically didn't put together a full dish. His meat was not cooked. So, in my opinion, Wayne should have been the one going home this week. And I'm sorry. Sorry, Nina. We appreciate you being on this show. Again, I do not agree with you being chosen episode 11 to go home. Again, in my opinion, Wayne didn't cook a fully complete dish. I get it. It was more so about the rations and not the protein, but I do not agree with this. You have been amazing, and thank you for letting us watch your creativity. And again, there's desserts that you have, and I want you to put them like here, here, here. All right, guys, as we had to say goodbye to Nina again, as I stated, this was a very special week because we have 2 episodes. So now that we know how episode 1 went, let's go to episode 2. Episode 2, which was technically episode 12, was the tag team challenge. Now, if you follow MasterChef, if you watch in recent years, you know how this works. You're a team of 2. One person cooks at a time. After a certain amount of time, you're going to be tagged out, and then the next chef will come in, and you'll just keep rotating that until the end of the competition for that week. So we already know Grant was the winner of the previous episode, episode 11, and he came in episode 12 like, yo, I got something to say, son. He said, hey, yo, one of the things the judges said, people say, yo, I'm a real nice guy, blah, blah, blah. He said, hey, yo, this is a competition now. Ain't no more Mr. Nice Guy. So Grant, since he won the immunity pin and he won last week's challenge, he had the option to choose the teams for the tag team challenge event. Yo, first and foremost, he was not coming to play. He was putting people together that he hoped would not be able to work together. First team he put together was Wayne and Reagan. Second team was Kennedy and James. Third team was Sav and MD. Fourth team was Jennifer and Charles. Then we ended off with Colby and Lizzie, and Grant chose to cook with Bren. I believe this was the excellent choice. If you're on Grant's side and you're looking to win, he chose probably one of the strongest competitors on MasterChef to cook with. And from Rip, just looking at the Jennifer and Charles pairing, I knew it would be a challenge because Jennifer is a good cook and she is very vocal. She has like 6 kids, so she has to be like that vocal voice. Charles is like timid, doesn't talk much. So off rip, I was like, yeah, they probably gonna have problems. Almost the same aspect with Kennedy and James. James don't really talk much. He's quiet, as we saw last week when he did the challenge. He wasn't really a leader. Whereas Kennedy is strong-minded. She knows what she wants to do and she'll just go for it. You don't really have to tell her too much. So off rip, Grant was he's trying to throw some bowls at people. Like, we gonna see what happened. Now, what they had to do is cook basically a 3-course meal. They had to start with the appetizer, a main entree, and then a dessert. What they had to cook for the appetizer was a fresh tagliatelle with sauteed shrimp, lemon cream sauce, and caviar. I don't know about y'all. I might have to recreate that. I don't know. That don't look good. The main course was a pepper crusted filet mignon with a truffle mashed potato, broccolini, and a steak, all pure sauce. Look, pure sauce. I don't know. I don't. It's French, I guess. And then the dessert was a sticky toffee pudding with a pistachio mascarpone and a caramel sauce with segmented oranges. Why we always gotta elevate? You know what segmented oranges is? It's 3 oranges. It's just orange slices. Can we just say orange slices? Why we got segmented oranges? It's orange slices of orange. That's all it was. All right, but again, they each had about 75 minutes to cook all 3 courses. The winner of this course would win an immunity pin. And as we know, this is a team challenge. So if your team won, both of you will get an immunity pin next week. Amen. In this competition, not only that, but you qualify to make it into the top 10. That is an amazing feat. So this is a serious challenge. You get into the top 10 of MasterChef. Come on, guys. Now, starting this challenge, Reagan was annoyed by Wayne. She already knew because Wayne, strong-minded, he automatically started off controlling. And she was worried. But with her personality being so laid back from the South on chill, I knew Reagan was going to be all right. Kind of like last week during that baseball challenge, I felt like she would be all right. She's not one to just snap on you. If you start snapping at her, she calm down. We gonna get through this. Jennifer off rip was like, I feel like I'm being targeted. And I ain't gonna lie, she was like, she was like, he paired me with the weaker chef. I know what he's trying to do, and I feel like he's just targeting me. And guess what? Bullseye on the back. Now Kennedy and James, kind of the same dynamic as Jennifer and Charles, but Kennedy was cool with James. She just felt like he needed to move a little faster. And judging by the looks of what we were looking at, he was kind of moving slow. Even the judge was like, "Hey, you gotta pick it up. Like, y'all got 3 dishes to cook." So I get where Kennedy was coming from, and all James would be like, "Yo, I got you." Kennedy to be like, "Yo, can you speed up a little bit? I got you. You need any help with this? I got you. Can you cook? Can you start on that? I got you." All you kept hearing was, "I got you." So I was a little nervous, especially at the fact that at the beginning they even said the thing that's going to take the most time is the cake. Going through the competition, James was moving so slow, and they ain't even start on the cake. He's cutting potatoes and he's doing everything else. I think he started on the pasta a little bit, but he did everything else instead of started baking that cake. That cake is what's going to take the longest. Off rip, Gordon tells Reagan she needed to focus on the cake because guess what? Her and Wayne were worrying about the potatoes. And Gordon's like, look, potatoes need to be like the second to last thing you do. It's potatoes. Like, put them in the pot, let them boil, and work on everything else. Like, you need to get the cake in the oven. Off rip, I get where Jennifer was coming from because Charles messed up the pasta though. Jennifer was upset. He just kept pouring oil on it. And I don't understand why he kept doing that. You making dough, and I guess because you gotta really knead it and you roll it and knead it, and it wasn't coming out the way he wanted it to. And he just kept pouring oil to the fact that it was just it was like Play-Doh. So it wasn't really anything they can do with it. Um, she tried to save it. I think they ended up getting it a little bit. Tried to save it. She asked Joe what to do, but he was just like, "Yeah, this you're gonna have to add some flour or something because it's too moist. It's too much oil on the dough." Now, shockingly, Sav and MD were a great pairing. Just watching them work, they weren't yelling at each other. And I think that goes to the point that they're both real calm. Like they've been sitting in the middle. You don't really hear about them too much, but they both have that calm nature to where I'm not going to overtalk you. I'm gonna watch what you're doing. I'm going to say, hey, you should do this. And they worked well. They communicated well. They had their dough resting and was working on the cake. Like they had the two high things that was going to take the most time already in production. So that was great to see them being able to work together. Now, Kennedy and James, on the other hand, again, he was working slow, but where Kennedy messed up is that she added too much oil to the pasta as well. Russian doing too much. She added too much oil. Eventually, I do remember they did get it to a point where it had the consistency of the dough that they needed. So they were able to work that out. But Kennedy did kind of lose a little time with that dough. Now we have Colby and Lizzie. My man Colby again, yo, doing his thing. Him and Lizzie was also a great pairing. They also both have that calm nature to where I can talk to you and guide you without yelling at you. And there was times if you watch Reagan and Wayne, Wayne is just yelling, "Oh, don't touch that! Oh, don't do this! Oh," and it's like sometimes that don't pan over too well in certain people. But Colby and Lizzie, they had a great work ethic. They worked together, they communicated. Also, they got the dough done. They got the cake in the oven first. They were working on the dough and they were chopping up stuff for the sauces. So they even Gordon said, y'all actually chose the correct route in cooking this main entree. I mean, these main dishes. So they did a great job during the challenge as well. Hopefully, they did enough to actually win the challenge. We'll get into that a little bit later. We had about 30 minutes into the challenge. Charles is flustered as hell. Charles looked like he's about to pass out. He got Jennifer in one ear, he got the judges in one ear, and he can't handle the truth. Like when I say he looks sick in his face, like he was just like, it's way too much. And then Gordon hits him with the, have you started the cake yet? 30 minutes into the competition. Have you started your cake yet? They both look at each other like, we got to make a cake. And we sitting here, I'm just sitting there like, oh my gosh. And they was worrying about the wrong thing for the whole most of the competition. So they had to revamp everything, go back and start on the cake, try to get that into the oven. Because again, the cake needs time to bake, and then you have to let it sit and air out so it can have those air pockets and things like that. Now, one thing I was worried about between Kennedy and James, even though it didn't really affect them too much, is that they did start cooking their steak a little early. I was a little worried. Um, I was a little worried that, okay, y'all cooking this. We got about 30 minutes to 25 minutes left, and y'all already putting that steak in the oven. The perfect cook for the judges is medium rare. I had a feeling that them putting it in the oven so early, it might hurt them. I was worried it was going to dry out, but they were able to get that done, and they were able to save the pasta, get that done into the water to boil. Um, Now, one thing that did scare me is that Sav and MD, they were having trouble rolling their dough through the pasta maker. So she decided to just roll it out thin and cut it. And I was like, oh, I'm nervous now. No, look, when anything to do with pasta, we already know that Joe is real particular. Italiano, he is not playing games. And I was like, I think y'all taking a risk. I would have tried to figure it out a little bit. Yes, they still had time. I would have, tried whatever I could to put it through the pasta roller. But who am I? I'm just me. That's just what I would have did. Now in the middle of all of this, again, Charles is still having a panic attack. Charles he took the potatoes out of the water and almost poured them back into the water when all he was supposed to do was drain them. Gordon literally had to come over there and drain the potatoes for him. And Gordon's like, yo, what's wrong? He's like, oh no, I'm shutting down. I was like, yo, calm down. Like, this is the competition. This is the heat. This is MasterChef. And just watching what he was doing, I was just like, man, I thought he was one of my ones. You got Kobe, you got Wayne, and Charles was one of them ones, Bren, that I'm like, yo, these people gonna make it kind of far. They got skill, but again, certain competitions will make or break you. And then at the end, where they had like 2 minutes to 30 seconds left, all hell broke loose. People were missing the mascarpone, sauces weren't done, plating was being it was just an all-out madness. I've never seen a countdown that hectic. Everyone was scrambling all over the place. There was a bunch of people who didn't have a mascarpone. Some people had sauce for the steak. Some people had some kind of sauce for the steak, but wasn't really the right sauce. It was just ridiculous. All in all, this was probably one of the hardest competitions they had to go through, especially when you're switching back and forth. You got to put a lot of trust into your partner. And if they're not doing certain things, then certain things won't get done. And that's what we saw in this competition this week. So let's get into it. Let's get into the best. Well, let's get into the dishes. Kobe and Lizzie. And again, what they had to make for appetizers was the fresh tagliatelle with sauteed shrimp, lemon, cream sauce, and caviar. The main course was a peppercorn filet mignon with truffle mashed potatoes, broccolini, and a steak al Poivre sauce. I can spell, but I cannot say that word. Somebody let me know what that word is. For dessert, they had to do a sticky toffee pudding with the pistachio mascarpone and a caramel sauce with segmented sliced oranges. All right. First up was Colby and Lizzie. Even though they had overcooked shrimp, the pasta needed a little, and the pasta needed a little bit more seasoning. The steak was a perfect medium rare. The mashed potatoes came out creamy, but the steak was cooked perfectly. Sorry, the steak was cooked perfectly. All they needed was a little bit more sauce. The dessert was missing the mascarpone, but they said it was very delicious. You have Grant and Bren. Shrimp was undercooked. Then the sauce was sour. The filet looked properly seared and was a medium rare, but it was too much pepper. So they didn't even out or check how much pepper they put on there. The dessert was missing the orange segments. The caramel sauce had eventually separated, but the cake was delicious. We have Wayne and Reagan. The pasta and shrimp looked good. It was seasoned beautifully. The filet was overcooked just slightly. It was medium. The sauce was rich and the mashed potatoes were creamy. The dish was on point. The dessert was very good, very delicious, but it was just missing the mascarpone. Next, we have Kennedy and we have James. I cannot believe it. I was shocked how crazy they were going. And again, you watch James. Now, this is a testament to James. James took his time, even though they say he was moving slow. James did a lot for this dish because they would ask him, who did the cake? I did. Who did the noodles? I did. who did I did. So a lot of the stuff James did that Kennedy was afraid because he was taking his time wasn't going to get done. They said the pasta tasted great and he had the best sauce. The shrimp was cooked beautifully. The steak, even though it came out medium, was delicious and seasoned perfectly. The dessert was spot on. He had all the elements and it was the best of the night at that point. So, hey, again, I know she wanted him to work a little faster. She was a little nervous, but hey, James kept it cool, calm, and collected, and he came through in the clutch. So good job to James and Kennedy. Next, we have Sav and MD. The sauce for the pasta was delicious. It's just the noodles were too thick. The steak was a perfect medium rare, so they nailed it on the cook and the seasoning. Their dessert was beautiful. Cream was a little bit over whipped, but the cake came out flawless. And then last but not least, we have Jennifer. We have Jennifer and Charles. Visually was the worst thing they've ever seen. It was just like the pasta was thrown onto the plate, and then they had like two shrimps just like sitting. Sauce was not completed. The shrimp were not cooked through. I forgot who asked. They were like, "Should we even try this?" And Charles was like, "Yeah, I wouldn't advise y'all to eat that." The pasta was raw. The steak was medium rare, but the peppering of the steak was inconsistent. The potatoes, of all things, was the best part of the dish. The cake was the size of a hockey puck. Like the cake was, I would say about 4 inches high. Their cake was about 2. So yeah, it was about the size of a hockey puck. They had no caramel sauce for the sticky cake, and the cake was overcooked. Man, again, highly disappointed in my man Charles. Um, Unlike Kennedy and James, where James was kind of quiet, he was taking his time, but he was doing what he was supposed to do. Where Charles, and kind of the same dynamic, he was just falling apart. Um, Jennifer, to me, she did what she needed to do. There were some things she admitted that she messed up on, but overall, I will put that loss on Charles if they lose. But let's go to the top dishes. Top dishes was Kobe and Lizzie, Sav and MD. And again, these were the two teams that probably worked together the best. Unlikely duos on both sides. And the winner of this week's competition was Sav and MD. So I just want to give a round of applause. Congratulations to Sav and MD. These are two home chefs that's kind of been hovering in the middle. They were able to come in, work together, and get their first win. So I'm very proud of them. Colby and Lizzie, nothing to hang your head on. Did a great job this week. It's just they edged you out just a little bit, but hey, you guys did your thing. And again, Lizzie and Colby, they're starting to make their way through this competition. They're starting to have those moments where they're shining and they're starting to get those looks, getting those best dish nods. So just congratulations on that. Even though you didn't get the win, you made second place. Ain't nothing wrong with second place. Now, unfortunately, for the worst dish, we have Jennifer and Charles, as we would have guessed it. They would make up the final two who will be going home this week. Again, in my opinion, Charles didn't do well. Charles didn't listen. Charles was freaking out. Charles was having a panic attack. So, in my opinion, the one who I picked to be one of the ones that I think will go far, I think it was his time. As this week, we did have to say goodbye to Charles. Now, this I agree with. Episode 11, I did not agree with Nina going home, but I definitely agree with Charles going home. I think he is a good chef. He does great work in the kitchen by himself at his own pace. I think the only thing he just needs to work on now going forward in the realm of being a chef is working in those high pressure moments. He doesn't seem to do well with. But thank you, Charles, for being in the competition. We got to see your quirky style of cooking. We definitely enjoyed you. Again, you were one of the ones I thought would go far. But hey, everybody in life has their own path, and it will be shown to us the way it should be. All right, guys, this has been another week, another episode of the Food We Watch podcast. I hope to have Nita back next week. If not, you will definitely have me here to listen to. Um, I'm not too sure. I did not watch the clips of what's supposed to happen next week on MasterChef, but it should be another doozy as we're getting closer to that top 10 situation. But again, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. As we're getting closer and closer to the end of MasterChef, hey, just let us know in the comments what cooking shows are you guys binging? What are you watching? As we know, once MasterChef is over, we're going to be looking for a new show to review, and we would like your opinion. We would like to review things that you guys like to watch. Not only that, we may do bonus episodes, not only just of interviews of these different chefs, but also bonus episodes where we review Netflix cooking shows, things of that nature. So let us know what shows you guys like to watch as far as cooking shows. Leave them in the chat. And again, it's been another week, another episode with your boy Search. If you were looking to hit me up, or if you were looking for Nita, let's do this. If you're looking for Nita, you can hit her up on all platforms at Nita Food Photo. If you were looking for me, you can hit me up on all platforms at Search City. But if you cannot find me, then you will always find me chilling, laid back, eating on Normals Be Chefing, all platforms. Now, before we go, we already know, I already got to let y'all know that good things come and good things go. Life is like a box of chocolate. That should be melting.